Welcome back to Barkaways and welcome back to the 308 project. Now, firstly, apologies for not putting this up sooner. Last time we spoke on the 308 project, we were putting the engine in. So I think the engine was going in and we were just running the car up. Since then, it's a lot's been going on. We've had people all around the world following the project. I'd like to say hello to Marco down in Australia. He came to visit us halfway through the project. As you can see now, the car's finished. We've got guys in Singapore. So you've all been asking as to what happened to the 308. And as you can see, now it is finished. And I'm so pleased with the car. It's spectacular. So things we've been up to since we last spoke. Sadly, for those of long members of Barkaways, you'll remember Mum. We lost Mum to dementia at the end of last year. Sympathies go out to any families that are involved with members of the family with dementia. It's not easy, but we got through it. But you all remember Mum. She was very much part of the open day. She was always around, so it was a very sad loss. So on a cheerful note, after that, it was Ben's wedding. So getting the car finished for Ben's wedding was the crucial bit. To get this car done, we went from having the engine on the floor almost to a few weeks before the wedding, but we got it done. We almost did an all-nighter. It was a lot of late nights. We got the car finished and we got it to Ben and Jess's wedding and they used it. Straight after that, it was off to Salon Privé. Now, you know us, we've been to Salon Privé for many, many years. We've won a lot of awards. There's never been a 308 at Salon Privé. And we spoke to the organisers, and last year was 75 years of Ferrari, so there was a huge display of cars. Ferrari came over from Italy, there was all sorts of things. And they accepted the car. They said, yes, we've never had a 308, but I said, this is the car to do it. So we were very proud to have it in the lineup of the 75 years of Ferrari at Blenheim Palace. And it was in amongst some colossal cars. We'd had aluminium 275 Nart Spiders, the only right-hand drive California Spider. There was 250 GTOs, a Zagato that we hosted. There was the creme de la creme of Ferrari. It was the lineup of all lineups, and so proud to have the 308 sitting in the middle of that lineup. After that, it was the weekend, and it was the club display. So all the Ferrari clubs, the Aston clubs, the Rolls-Royce, over 1,000 cars descended on Blenheim Palace. And this was chosen as to represent Ferrari. So there was an F40 that Ferrari chose to represent the European club, which was a real honour. And then it went on to win. It won the Secretary's Club from Ferrari. And then out of all the clubs and everything, they decided that this was the car of the day. So we were so chuffed. Ben and I were sitting in the car, back onto the stage. It was a fabulous day. And I think real tribute to how much effort we put in. You've all seen the videos. We put so much effort into this car and it paid off. After that, we went on, my other son got married, so there was another wedding. I was just grateful that we didn't have to build another car for that one. All we had to do was put the ribbons back on it. So Dan and Jess got married and off it went again. Then it went to Sywell recently, was the biggest gathering of Ferraris in the UK, because it was now the winning car. Lockton's asked if they could borrow it, so we went back to Sywell Aerodrome earlier this year. So after all of that lot, I'm finally getting round to doing the video of showing you how we did it. So apologies for the delay, but that's the reasons that we just hadn't had time. The car's done about 300 miles now, so we have used it a little bit, some sort of shakedown miles, and we'll take it out again in a minute. But first of all, I just thought I'd show you around and talk you around the finished car. Okay, so this is the silverware we came back with. We've got our certificate to show that the car was accepted. We've got a lovely little medal there that it's been in the show. These are quite collectible. We all wear them on the day. We've got lots of these, the little, I don't know what you'd call them really, badges for the event. And then we've got the big things. We've got the Secretary's Cup from Ferrari and the Best of Show Club car from Blenheim Palace. And and the event, and a huge bottle of champagne that now I think we will sit down and drink now that all the dust has settled. So let's go around the car now and show what detail you have to go to win this sort of silverware and be invited to these events. We'll start at the back. Okay, so starting from the back, obviously everything's got to be spotlessly clean. It's going to have the right finish. So knowing what's original, whether like the cam covers on this, these were vapor blasted with like a glass bead and water, so they have this sort of satin type silver finish. Some people polish them and that's too bright. Some people paint them. You've got to know what the right finish is, whether stuff is yellow plated, whether it's silver plated, the crinkle finish on the top. It's very hard to do. You don't want it too crinkly. You don't want runs in it. It's getting the authentic finish. The cover there that goes over the distributor was originally anodised cover. It's all these little details. So these are the original hose clips that we've had replated, so they're like new, and these are the ones that you buy off the shelf. So if we fitted these all around the engine, they still hold the hoses on and they still work as a clip, but they just wouldn't look authentic. You'd lose points for that, for being a non-original clip, and it looks much better. So we've kept all these original clips all around the engine. We've refurbished all the old ones to keep it original, and that's the sort of detail that you've got to go with. The little detail here, the how the end of the cable for the choke's bent over. It's not just straight, it had a little diamond shape on it from original. Going into nuts and bolts, if I show you these, this is a refurbished bracket. These are both bolts. They're these new ones we buy. This is the original one with Fiat written on it. So by refurbishing the original bolt is far better than sticking just a normal bolt in. They're both bolts, they both hold the object on. But again, that's the sort of detail it's got to be, with the plated, with the original black cover on it. That's what it takes. That's where you've got to go to. Looking at these little bands here, these are like little steel bands that hold the bellows on that just twist over. Again, people have done them with nylon zip ties. You can do them with, this wouldn't be right. Obviously we've got the original chassis number for the car, 279, this car, and also the original Agip oil sticker that comes on. Some cars are on Agip, some cars are on Shell, depending on which decade they were made in. But again, knowing which sticker it had and which one's correct for the car. Whilst we're talking stickers, we've spoken about the chassis number and the oil one. There's obviously the paint one. All the cars have got a paint one. They all vary as to who made the paint at the time the car was built. This was originally done by Glidden Salchi. So reproducing, so these have been remade, these little stickers, and it's known where they go. Sometimes they go on the engine hood, sometimes they go down the front. So again, little details. Another little detail that I'm fussy about is getting the right size nuts and studs on. And you can see, if you had a stud that was too long, you don't want too much stud hanging out the end of a nut. You can see from here, where the nuts are on, there's just a couple of turns of bolt left. You don't want great big threaded bolts sticking out the end of nuts all the time. It just looks wrong. So talking about nylon cable ties, remembering that these things weren't, I don't know exactly when they were invented, but it probably wasn't until sort of the 70s. I didn't see them appear on cars until the 70s series. All the 60s series cars had little aluminium tags on. But the Ferraris use a side access on here. You have a cable tie that's a sort of end on with a side entry one, as opposed to these ones which are universally used all around the world by electricians and everything, and we use them. These are readily available all around the world. These are quite hard to come by. So getting the original side, more chunky sort of size cable ties, which are right for the car, rather than just zipping it all up with these little throwaway ones. And again, I know that's wrong, and the judges know that's wrong. One of the things that's come up for discussion on the back of the car while we're at the back end is the 4-outlet exhaust. Now, the original carb cars had a single outlet and a little, like a sort of mouse hole there, that recessed semicircle that the single outlet came from. One of the upgrades, and I've got an original brochure here, basic fundamentals of an engine. If you can get the air in and out quickly, then obviously it runs better. So a single outlet exhaust, which is pretty much the size of one of those, getting 3 litres of air through. So if you put double the outlets, you get the air out twice as fast. So what Ferrari did, this is a copy of the original brochure. And what they offered was an upgrade. They called it high performance accessories. So you could have larger wheels. You went up from 14s to 16 wheels, which gave you a bigger wheel and a smaller tyre wall. Yeah, and then you had high compression pistons and sports camshafts and a 4-outlet exhaust. So this was an official upgrade from Ferrari, and it was also, you could also incorporate the deep front spoiler. You had a shallow spoiler or a deep spoiler, so that was what you could have. So what we've done on this, we've got the high compression pistons, we've got 12:1 compression ratio on the pistons. I didn't put the cams in. I've driven the Sprint Pack cars with cams in. They are a bit cammy, brilliant on track days when you're really revving them, but in traffic they can be a bit not quite so good. So we've kept with the standard road cams, high compression pistons, 4-outlet exhaust, and we've got the 16-inch wheels. And one of the things I did was actually fill in the little semicircles, because it does look a bit odd when you look at the back of the car with a 4-outlet exhaust. One side's covered and one side's got a little semicircle, and it just looks odd. So aesthetically, I changed it. It did come up for discussion with the judges. They went round the houses on it. The fact that it was in a brochure from Ferrari, and I managed to get from Ferrari the exact specification for the Sprint Packs. So you've got the part numbers for the camshafts, and they changed the jet sizes. You changed the choke sizes, the air correctors, the idles, and the mains. So that's yet to do on this. What we'll do now, this car's done about 300 miles. I'll probably put it on a rolling road soon, not to max it out and do power runs, just to set the mid-range fueling up, and we'll play around with the size of the jets, because what was specified 40 years ago isn't necessarily right now for modern fuel. So we'll sort that out. Whilst we're talking, just happen to have another 308 here, so you can see the difference. So this has got the 14-inch normal wheels with the XWX tyres. So you've got the same rolling radius. The tyre's pretty much the same size on the outside. So you've got a bigger tyre with a smaller wheel, or a bigger wheel and a smaller tyre. So the sportier tyres, as we all know, have a lower profile, less wobble on the car. Something to bear in mind if you are changing your wheel sizes is the geometry changes. So if you go through your manuals, on 308 series cars, there's 3 different sizes of tyres. You've got the XWXs, you've got the 16-inch Pirellis, and then on some of the injection cars, they did a metric size. It was called the 390 series, and it had a metric hole in the middle as opposed to an inches. These are 14s and 16s, and for some weird reason, they decided to go metric. They only did it on these injection cars and some Testarossas, and then everyone, the rest of the world is all on inches, so it's very hard to get those tyres. But it does mean you've got 3 different lots of geometry, so when it comes to your casters, your cambers, your tracking, they are all different depending on which wheel you've got on the car. So we've now set this car up for the 16-inch wheel geometry. So looking at the inside of the car, you've all seen the video. Mark and the team down at McKay did a fantastic job on the leather. We went to Connolly and chose the original tan leather to complement the Le Mans blue paintwork. And I must say, it looks absolutely stunning, and they've got it just right, and the whole combination of colours and everything here. Going onto the carpets, we kept the original heel pads and everything, and Mark managed to stitch those into the new blue carpet, so that looks fantastic. One of the things on all the 70 series cars, you'll see these little slidey controls on everything. Dinos, Daytonas, 308s. 90% of them don't work. They're a nightmare. They run cables through the floor and off to heater flaps and what have you. We spent ages getting these working. So you've got to get the arm to work. We've put all new cables in it. We've greased all the cables, and then whatever it's working, whether it's a heater tap or a flap, we've had all that to pieces and made all that, cleaned and greased. The end result is these actually work. They're lovely. It's very rare to sit in a car and actually be able to move them. Sometimes the cable seize up and it breaks this end, but even the temperature, it just works. It's lovely. You can go down the road and everything just works on this, which is what this car's all about. We've also got a choke on this one. It's all connected. 99% of cars don't run a choke anymore. They don't need it to start it. You can prime it by accelerator pumps. But it's nice to have it. It works. All the linkages work. All the cables are in. Everything's there. Seat belts. You'll see the original 1979 sticker on the side of the seat belt. That's all done. We've spoken about the gauges before. They all went back to Italy and all been overhauled. So when you drive the car now, you look at the gauges and they're all nice and clean and they all work. It's brilliant. Windows, if I turn the ignition on, windows all work. It's rare on a 308, as we did in the videos. We spent a long time overhauling all the motor mechanism and getting all, if you remember, there was all the sort of waxy grease that had all gone hard. So by sorting out the motor, then all the pulleys, again, it's every little detail, motor, pulleys, wiring, fuse boards I'll go into in a minute, getting enough electricity to it, all the linkages and runners, and now we've got windows that work. So the key to this car is just getting everything to work as it should. One of the other weak links on 308s is the fuse board. Now, these are the ones that came out of the car. These are the original ones. They're 30 odd years old and they're not too bad. These are the ones that we took out of another car a while ago, and you can see what happens is that the rivets come loose, and then once the rivets come loose, they literally melt the fuse board, and someone's even stuck a little bit of wire and just soldered it in on this. So this is not good, but this is what happens. They overheat and just cause chaos. So what we've done on this is upgraded it. Now you can't do this on all cars, because if it's an engine base like the Dinos, Daytonas, and the fuse box is visible, you can't do it. But on this, because it's hidden behind the panel, you can do it. So we've now upgraded this to blade fuses. So it's got the normal modern blade fuses and a modern circuit board type fuse board. And these are a plug and play. You literally, there's a little bit of fiddling, but you can literally just take the plugs off. It's the same amount, you can see, and you can just substitute one for another. And as everything, we always keep the old one with the car for authenticity and historical significance, and if anyone wanted to put it back to original, then you could. But it certainly makes life a whole lot easier than constantly worrying about the old style fuses that let you down. One of the other things that several people have spoken about on the car is stereo systems and radios. Now, at the moment, this car, last time it was used, it had a single slot CD in it, which, whilst it worked, we've got Pioneer speakers in the doors to upgrade the speakers. That's all in, they're all wired in. You can't really have CD players in the late 70s because they hadn't been invented yet, so everyone was on cassettes. The cars used to come wired with, we've got an aerial switch here, so that's all wired in, and the wires go through to the back to have an aerial on the rear wing. Now, I haven't brought myself to drill the hole in the rear wing to put the aerial in yet. I've left that one out. I'm currently having this cassette player redone, so it's a cassette player, but you can also run it on your iPhone and everything, so that's a way being done. So we'll end up with a old style cassette player that works on the iPhone, which is what most people do. And we can put an internal aerial in it so we don't have to drill a hole in the rear wing. I know it's not 100% authentic, but I think it just spoils the line of putting old aerials in old cars. I don't know. We can always put it in, but we can't take it out. So we'll see how we get on with that. It's a bit like door mirrors. We haven't put the door mirrors on the car yet. We all know the little Campagnola door mirrors. They look quite stylish from the outside, but you can't actually see very much in it. But having driven the car now, you do miss a door mirror. So I think we're going to have to give in and put the mirrors back on the car. So let's move down towards the front of the car and see what we've been up to down there. So going through the front then, obviously there's some components at the front that we've looked at. The radiator's all been recored, again done in period satin black as opposed to gloss black or anything. We've got a little bit of foam along the top, little details that get lost. All the cooling fans have been overhauled. Washer bottle, original washer bottle. Again, these are quite hard to come by now. Sharp-eyed amongst you will notice that we've got an XWX spare, and so a 14-inch spare and a 16-inch wheels. That's how they came. When you did the upgrade, you only got 4 wheels, so I've sort of gone with that theme. You could buy another one, but for the sake of authenticity. The reason I've got the cover off of here, as you all know, there's a cover goes here. We're still making adjustments to the car. We're still bleeding the brakes out with use. And one of the things that we get to is the brake master cylinder adjustment. Whenever you do massive restorations like this, getting the brakes right is crucial. If you leave them too slack, you end up with a massive travel on the pedal. If you do them too tight, when the brakes get warm, the brakes hydraulic up because it can't release back to the master cylinder, so all your brakes bind on. And it's quite a crucial point between having it too tight that they bind on and too loose that they're soggy. Somewhere in the middle is a really good pedal, so we just leave that off. It means I can get to it on a spanner and road test and just keep adjusting it. So there's always ongoing stuff. Something else that's interesting on these, this is a non-air conditioning car. For some reason it was ordered without air conditioning, but all the cars came pre-wired. So we've got the orange wiring loom here for air conditioning, and we've got the little plastic piece here, which is where the receiver dry would have gone for the filter system for the aircon. So they all came pre-wired, a bit like I was saying about radio aerials. They're all in there, whether you have a radio or not. The wiring's there, and your wiring's there for your aircon. So we've just tucked that up out of the way. And you can also see the same thing with the hose clips. We've kept all the hose clips and these original pipes and everything here. Another subject for discussion on these, that we mentioned, one of the things that triggered the entire restoration on this was the headlights. So we turn the headlights on. Is whether we do, how far we upgrade the headlights. Now at the moment I haven't upgraded them. We've got new halogen bulbs in there. I was talking about going, there's a xenon kit that you can get, which I think I will end up fitting, but for the sake of the shows and authenticity, we just kept it on the standard lights, which, as you know, aren't brilliant. So we'll probably put an upgrade into these of the xenon light kits, just to give a better beam. There's technology out there, and as I've said before, the original xenons used to be quite big boxes. Now you can get them, they're little kits about the size of a cigarette packet, which is quite easy to tuck away. So we can work with technology and upgrade the headlights quite easily now. Other thing we've spoken about before on concours cars is the glass. Now glass is ferociously expensive to have made. What we've done on this, we've had a new front screen made. Pilkington very kindly made us a new front screen on this, and it's got a blue top tint, which is quite nice because it matched the blue of the car. We've had some tax discs made. We always make old-fashioned tax discs for the cars, and we've got the original sticker here for the tyre pressures and what have you. So that's, again, quite a nice detail. One of the ways of showing whether the car has had any accidents or whether it's still original, as you said before, we've already spoken about the matching numbers on these. We know we've got the numbers on the doors and the headlight pods and the engine covers. We know we've been around the car. Glass. Now, if you have glass remade, they can't reproduce the etchings on them. So this has got Saint-Gobain quarter lights, Saint-Gobain drop glass, and if I look in here, the little quarter light at the back, you can see it's got the Saint-Gobain. So I've got matching glass on all three of these windows and on all three of those windows. So I know this is all the original glass. Other niceties that you're going to need for concours. Okay, you've got the perfect car, you've researched all the numbers, you can authenticate all the right bits. Then you've got the niceties. So coming into the boot of the car, we usually display these in the boot. We've got the original jack, we've got the bulb kit, all the sort of things that get lost. So we've got the original bulb kit, spare fuses. We've repainted and replated, that's the jack handle, so we send it off to the platers, and we've kept the original plastic sleeving for it. We've got the tools. Other things, we've got brochure, niceties to have. We've got some brochures from the car. We've got the original Maranello brochures from the era. We've got a range brochure here. Things that were available for the car when it was new. So we've got the original sales brochure for the 308 series. These are all nice to have. This is the original tonneau cover that goes to cover the roof when the roof's taken out. Book packs. Book packs are important, and not just any book pack, the original book pack for the car. So we've got the original wallet, and as we've shown before, we've got the original service book for this car, which is right back from day one. And then we've got oil charts. You always got little oil charts in here that showed you what sort of oil was used in the car, so things like that. There's oil charts, the dealer guides that we've got, the original dealer guide, all the things that you need in a book pack. Other stuff that we've got, this was the original tag that was hanging on the radio, shows you how to do the radio wiring, so that's a nice original item. And that's a nice item that you hang on the clock. That used to come through when the cars were new. They were hanging on the clock, and it just told you how to adjust the clock time. So they just used to hang on the clock. So having these things in the car on the day of the concours is a nicety for the judges to see. Another thing you used to get as part of the Ferrari toolkit was these little lights. It's come in little plastic wallets. It was like a breakdown light or just a torch that had a lead all wrapped up. This one's never been used, and a plug. So obviously the ultimate thing is the plug there, and does it actually work? So if we move around to the front of the car, the little plug for these lights is up underneath here. And if we plug the light in, hey presto, it works. So again, not only have we got the light, but when we wired up the dashboard, I made sure it's all there and it works as well. So that's not many of those would even work, or these would even be missing. It's all these last little bits of detail that you can demonstrate to the judges that takes a car from being a good car to a spectacular car. Okay, so I think it's about time we drove this car, isn't it? So what does a concours winning car drive like? So it's cold at the moment, so we're just going to go gently. Second gear straight away. As I said before, there's a little mod we do on the gearboxes that we can go straight into second. Sorts out all the myths of the gearboxes. So what I'm looking for now, as we said before, this yard's fairly bumpy and horrible, so we're crawling along straight into second. We've got no knocks, clogs, the suspension's all nice and tight, the doors aren't rattling. It's solid, it drives like a new car. I mean, it should do. This is something that's just had sort of 4 years and 3,000 or 4,000 man hours put on it. It drives like a new car. I've turned the heating off. Pull it beautifully, and even third gear going out to the yard. Usual stuff, just checking the gauges. We've got oil pressure, generator light's gone out, chokes off, handbrake's off. Sometimes when we've restored the cars, they are a bit harsh straight out the box, especially the V12s. The V12s seem to be worse than the Dinos, but this one has been phenomenal. Lovely noise to it. We had the exhaust system, we spoke about the 4-branch exhaust, but we had an exact copy of the Answer exhaust made for this car. It's got like a sort of upswept bit on the back. A lot of the reproduction boxes you buy for these cars have got like the round silencers on, which are just, this has got the proper, we managed to have an original Answer exhaust and we had it copied. It sounds brilliant. So just coming out to the bypass. Lovely noise on the right hand drive cars with the airbox goes into the right torpedo tube, as I call them, so it's right in your ear, which is brilliant. Usual stuff, we just dab the brakes gently, just make sure they're okay before we start opening things up. The steering's lovely, as I said, we've set up all the geometry. The joy with the geometries on these is you can adjust everything. You can adjust the casters, the cambers, everything. It's all done by shims, so you can get them absolutely spot on, these ones. As I said, I think I'm going to have to give in and put the Chromadora wing mirrors on, because you are a bit blind in a Ferrari with no wing mirrors. The temperature's all starting to come up nicely now. And it is a real pleasure to drive these things after you've spent so long doing it. We run them first on the straight 30 oil, just to give the piston rings a bit of bite to get in. So we've now changed it to the fully synthetic oil, so we can lean on it a bit now. So we've done 391 miles, so it's, sometimes you find the better you lean on them, the better they are, right? I've done engines before that have gone straight onto dynos, flat out, straight off the bench, and they've always survived. So I hope you can hear all this bit of wind noise. An absolute pleasure to drive. There's no squeaks, no bangs. The seats are just there's a noticeable difference between seats that have been redone. You don't fall through. Some of the ones with the older foam, your sort of bottom falls through the bottom. These are nice and firm and supportive. It's just a joy to be in. Remember when I first drove this car, when we first came out, so when I took it back here to Ben, you've got to drive this car, and it's so good. We're fortunate we drive lots of cars, but to be straight out of the box this good on this car is brilliant. Now being featured in 2 magazines. Also Italia have done an article on it, and Ferrari Owners Club have just done a big 5 or 6 pages on it. And when we were doing the Auto Italia test drive, we were going up and down here, and we were just going along, changing up from the gears, and an Audi went past, and the guy said, well, I know which car I'd rather be in. Considerable amount of money that's been spent on this as well. It's brilliant. I just can't understand why these cars are so cheap. They're just fabulous. I always say to people, of all the cars I've driven, if they were all £1, some just drive beautifully. Some of the 275s and things, you think, yes, these are really nice cars, but these are just so nice. I know this is an exception now, and it is beautiful, and it does drive perfectly, but I think the 308 is such an underrated car. You get the carburetor, you get the induction noise. They're not too fast, you can wind them up through the gears and still stay within the speed limit, whereas the later cars, as soon as you touch the go pedal, you've already exceeded the speed limit, so they're almost pointless. These you can have a bit of playtime without being told off. It's just coming down through the box there now, beautifully, coming up to a roundabout. The biggest worry on these things now is once you've spent so much time and so much effort making these things perfect, it's other people. You just don't want people cutting you up and throwing gravel all over it and things. Sodium valves at the higher revs, I mean, not that we're ever going to go really revving it now, but you haven't got to worry about any of that sort of stuff. We've got our Teflon coated pistons, so they're going to take a bit of stick now. I'm not shy on revving this thing up a bit now. There's a little bit of quiver on the wheel balance, but that'll all get done. What we'll do now is we'll go right through the car again. We do what's called the pull down service, so it'll have the cylinder heads pulled down, we'll readjust the valve clearances, we'll go around the geometry again, we'll rebalance all the wheels now they've been driven a bit. Going back into the yard now. No knocks, no bangs, no clonks. It's just like all the gauges. Usually get the gauges well, one doesn't work, or it's a bit fogged up or misted up. Oil temperature's just starting to move. It's quite quick on this, but bearing in mind that but the engine is still fairly tight. One of the things that stands out to me, this has been to some shows now, is the appreciation everyone else has been giving it. That everyone who's seen the car that's just said, no, this is fantastic. So the idle's starting to come up a bit now as the cylinders loosen up, the idle rises. We've still got really strong oil pressure. Fabulous. I've got to say some huge thank yous to the people that have helped us on the journey of this car. I never realised this car was going to turn out this good. And to win the awards that and the accolades that it's got is tremendous, but I couldn't have done it without all the guys like you that have helped. Right through from the beginning, we've got Ashley down at the Soda Blasters when it was on a spit, going back through the videos. Mark and the team for doing all the leather. Steve up at Vulcans who did all the engine machining and all the valve guides and that for us, and especially to the team at Barkaways here. I've been doing this in my evenings and weekends. Everybody's mucked in and helped. Also like to thank Colin and the team at Superformance who've supplied a lot of the parts. There's been a colossal amount of parts that's gone into this project. I'm very grateful for their support. Also to Aston, Lark and Aviva, who not only insure this car, which is now very precious to me, but also they insure our business, which enables us to function and look after the cars for you. The whole idea of doing this was to show you how we do the concours winning cars. We've won over 30 awards doing cars for other people, but some of them we can't talk about. So the whole idea of this car was to open it up and show you what goes into a Barkaways restoration. It's my passion and I'm happy to share it with you, but I do appreciate all the feedback that we get. Sorry we can't reply to everybody personally, but the positivity that comes through for us doing these videos is fantastic, so I'm glad you enjoy them.